In our last video, we talked about this chrome beast right here, the NCR Class 52 Mechanical Cash Register. I gave a very short history on NCR and how this came to be, and we did a fairly extensive history on exactly where this machine in particular came from, the Blue Horizon Hotel in Vancouver. So it's a strange story on how I got to this, and I also demonstrated to you, or tried to demonstrate to you, how exactly this particular register works, even though it's gone out into the field, come back, been reconfigured, and then went out again before ending up in some church auditorium. But here we are now. The one thing we didn't finish on with that last video is that we still have this hole right here, and that is where the mode selector key lock is supposed to be. This little thing right here. So it's an interesting story on its own why this is out of here. And it's also a good time to point out, if you are a business, if you are a locksmith, people are paying you money to work on their locks, for you to sell them products, either new locks or services to pick locks or make new keys for old locks. One particular locksmith here in town, I really am not going to give a name, gave me the runaround for almost a month. The first time I went in there with the lock, and I told them, could you please cut me a key for this? It's an older lock, it should be fairly straightforward. The first complaint they had when they took it away for 2 days was called me back and say, we don't have any key stock for it. We can find the key code, but we don't have any key stock for it. Okay, I can try and figure out a solution, and I did find a solution. This here is the Ilco P54F key blank. Fairly straightforward style design, and what I had to do here was just mill the bottom portion of this guide right off, and then it fits into the lock. Now, of course, it's not going to unlock the lock because it still needs to be a proper key. So, there was my key, and I took it over to the locksmith. He looked at this thing and was like, huh, okay, we'll look into this. We'll try and get back to you on it. And I heard nothing for 2 weeks. Finally, after 2.5 weeks, I went back to them and said, well, how's it going? Did you get it done yet? And I got the lock back. I got back a kind of cut key, and he said, I'm sorry, we couldn't figure out how to do it. I don't think there's any way that you can actually make a new key for this lock. And I was like, oh, well, that sucks. Okay, how much is this? Well, it's free. Okay, thank you for trying at least. What you did to me there was that you bluffed, and I called your bluffed. I have never cut keys before, ever. I have never been a locksmith before, ever. All I know is that if you are able to dismantle a lock, you can somewhat easily file down a key blank until the inner pins in the lock cylinder match up with the outer diameter of the lock cylinder, and then when you put the outer cylinder pins in, it should operate like a normal lock. This was an afternoon job I did myself with little tiny files and a vise, and of course the lock, which actually is very trivial to take apart. And as a result, I made this key. I guarantee you, if you are a locksmith, you'll probably say, that's a pretty janky looking key, and I'm not going to lie. For my first time cutting a key on my own with like no templates or really any guidance beside the pins should go to these particular heights, I would say, okay, it's not too bad. But the big thing is that if I put it into the lock, believe me, there we go. If I put it into the lock, it turns. So we now have a proper key for this lock. Now we can put the lock back inside the cash register. And to do that, we're going to have to dismantle this a little bit. I had this apart, cleaned and reassembled 1.5 years, going on 2 years now. So, I'm not going to say I retain every single bit of knowledge I have. More or less the more traumatic ones And I do remember some things inside of this were a complete nightmare to get apart and then reassemble. But otherwise, the goldfish has gone around the bowl once now, and this is kind of a new experience for me again because I got to take this apart. So follow along with me here. I'm going to take this out. We're going to put this lock back in here, and if it's not too frustrating, I'm not going to edit out a whole bunch of this video, and then here we are at the end with, well, here we are. The lock's installed. We're all good. Hope to see you next time. All right, let's get to it. And I got a couple of screwdrivers, hammers, and other tools here. That'll make my life a whole heck of a lot easier. So the first thing we got to do is we have to take it off of the pedestal. But to get the pedestal off first, I have to manage to get the cover off so I can get access to the bolts that hold the top and bottom half together. Inside of the machine, I know for a fact that I already have 2 of these bolts right here. So there's 2 more still inside the machine. I'm going to start by moving it here. Next up, I'm going to unplug it. And when we separate the base, because the wiring for this unit goes through the base itself, I have to disconnect it out of the register. To get the screws out, first off comes the serial plate and the coin plate, apparently. There we go. And that comes right off. The stainless steel plate here, we'll just keep that together. And I'll keep that with the screws. Let's not lose our keys. And then I have 2 screws right here on the front of the machine. And they should just spin out. I don't even think these are the original screws, by the way. So there we go. We have 2 screws there. On the back of the unit, I have 2 more screws. And that should loosen off the top. Now I'm going to open the door on the side of the machine here because I also have to work off this piece of plastic up here because you can crack and damage that if you're not careful. Where are you? There you are. Take that off for good measure. Now, there we go. And I'm going to put this on the floor. And we get our first real view inside of the machine. It is just as mechanically complicated as you were expecting it to be. Here is really the only electronics in it. So power comes in. Here's our wiring harness connections right here. We have our motor. We have the starter for our motor. We have a starting capacitor under here. We have this switch up here, and we have this switch here, and we have this light right here. Otherwise, there is no other electronics on here. This is the receipt printer like I was mentioning before. Now that I have a screwdriver, I can take that one screw out. And here is our ribbon and ink assembly. And it's all nicely set up here. So as I pull it through, it'll actually pull through it, the inked pad. And somehow the foam roller on here isn't perished. I'm pretty sure it's not actually foam. But that will just slide back in here. It's a little bit more difficult when you're doing it off to the side. There we go. And of course you also have your enormous numerical dials which are hiding up here. There's actually a set of metal plates that are covering over as blanking. But you'll notice here that we have our digits on this side. And you'll notice on this side here, the digits are on the other side. There is a very large reel of digits, and in the middle right here, it reverses direction. The mechanics that are going on in here are phenomenal. A lot of that is hiding underneath of the columns here. And there is one latch hiding on the back here. You can just tell just by me taking the cover off how much lighter it is already, is that there's this lever right here which locks those reels into place so they don't bounce around once they're installed. There is a bit of a torque release on it, but otherwise that's it. We have this giant metal plate back here, which is for reinforcement, and this here hides, again, more of the computational engine, which is behind it. And I have this one little tiny piece right here, which is actually our drawer release, and we'll have to work around that. Now, where are the two screws? I can see the rear ones here. Let's take off our wiring. So this has a ground screw on it. It's magnetized, so I'll take that out of there. And I'll try not to drop it in the hole. There we go. So I can put it back into the screw hole. It doesn't want to go back into the screw hole. I'm just going to put it over there. Okay, sure, fair enough. And I'll take off our wiring here. I'll put the wire nuts there. And we should have our other two bolts hiding here. Oh dear. How am I going to be able to open it? Oh right, I can just put the hand crank in. And we can take the drawers out. Come on. I think this is in the way. There. And what I'm after here is that just underneath this plate here, which we'll have to take off anyways, I see two nuts, but I also see the bolts that are going through. So I will take a screwdriver, put it underneath, give that a good solid turn. Yeah, the nuts are already loose there. Because surprise, surprise, I had a good feeling I was going to have to take this off anyways. Okay. And now we'll take this off. Normally there's supposed to be a bunch of counters hiding underneath that. On this particular model, there is not. Go. There's another one hiding over here. And the plate comes right off. And now you can see there's nothing under here. Because again, all of the counters and everything that were supposed to be here have been removed in that configuration change. Really, all that continues to exist is this little arm that's right here that goes to nothing. And this one gear, which still has its little E-clip. But other than that, everything else is gone. So we'll take off one nut. We'll take off, actually we'll keep the nut on there just so I can keep the crown. And I'll go with a little brass hammer. And I can drive them out of their rubber bushings. There we go. And so this is what's hiding underneath there, is it has these rubber bushings that the till attaches into the machine with. It's interesting, it's slotted on the bottom, but it's also slotted on the top as well. So you can get at it from multiple angles. It's actually really nice and convenient. And I think at this point here, I should now be able to just lift the machine up. Oh, it's really heavy. It's on its plate too. Okay. All right, I am not in any position here to slip a disc to try and lift this thing off of its pedestal so we can work on the machine directly. So I'm going to have to ask for some help to get this removed off of here. Give me a moment, please.
Yes?
Could I have you come downstairs here and help me move this thing? It's kind of heavy.
Yes, I'll be down in a moment.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. All right. Can I have your assistance, please?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is my father, by the way. This old man here lets me live in his basement. Okay, so I have these two pieces of wood right here.
Yes.
We're going to lift this, and we're going to try and drop it onto here without slipping a disc.
Okay.
And I got to get around these bits and pieces that are on the machine.
Also, which do you want the upper part lifted down?
The tray here, we're going to keep it on the tray. We're going to keep the register on top of it. We just got to separate it off, but before you can slip it, I have these pieces here we got to kind of work around.
Okay.
If I can remember how to lift it, because it's super heavy. Okay. Okay, watch it so it doesn't slide, because I got to get that wire out from under there. Oh no, there's still an extra wire. Okay. Oh no.
Use both hands.
Nope, got it. Okay, it's down there. Watch your hands, watch your fingers.
Fingers out.
Okay, your fingers are out. Okay, I'll put that there. So we're going to, don't grab it exactly by the edges of the tray because it'll bend. We'll just try and lift it up.
Got it.
Okay, got it here.
Yep.
Oh, and I felt that on my back.
Flip it forward.
Okay, and there we go. Thank you very much. I'll take care of that.
Yes, thank you. You're
All right,
welcome.
and you may resume. What were you doing upstairs? It doesn't matter. Anyways, get upstairs and enjoy your weekend. Ooh. That really did hurt. Even with two people, I'm not joking. This thing is super, super heavy. Oh, okay. So, yeah, that wasn't a legitimate, like, I was making fun there. That actually did hurt. So let's see what the ibuprofen does to make the rest of this video completely bearable to do. Carefully. So now we have the unit here off of its base. And I'm just going to spin it around here so we can get more ease of access to where we need to go, which is into our clerk keys. To get into those, I will now need to take out the very small screws which take out this group of covers. And those simply just kind of spin off like that. There's one. I can move this out of the way. I'll just put it right there. There we go. That comes off. Can I make this so you can see it? There we go. So we have to take this whole column off. We also have to take these off so I can get my tools in there as well. And everything in here is metal. So even underneath this blanking plate here are a bunch of blank inserts. So you can add additional columns for even larger denominations if you so desired. Again, these things are completely reconfigurable. Once they leave the factory, they can be just done again. And that's not too much of an issue. The other thing, however, now is that I have two steel bars. And somehow I have to lift these out. These are currently locked in place in some fashion or manner. I'm not entirely sure how the heck you would manage to take them out. But in reality, it's actually kind of cool what they've done here. One of these bars is a D-shaped cam. And while you can't loosen the bottom one, the top one, I can just barely reach over the machine to get to it, has a set screw right here. So I'm going to back off that set screw. And with this in my hand, I'm just going to rotate it. I think it's 90 degrees. Nope. 180. Nope. 270. There we go. At about 270 degrees, it comes out. That one comes out. Without taking off the bar there, we'll try and see if we can just deal with those two right there. And I also have to take off the clerk keys, which actually have a little arm. There we go. And that just comes out like that. And now we can better see the mechanism that's going inside, that's both holding them, latching them, and releasing them. So there is a release in here. But again, I don't know why that release isn't working. It's a little sticky, but I know I've been in here with oil and grease before. So not sure what's going on there. I guess I'm going to have to re-lubricate that one and try it again. All right, but now I can get into most of the lock. And I have, there we go. So I can pull that out of the way. And now I can get to the bottom screws, and for those, I need a little stubby screwdriver. Oh, it does want me to take that extra one off. All right. So in order to take off one of these, by the way, I'm making sure I don't pop it off completely because they are a pain in the butt to re-engage back on. We'll take out the screw for that. We'll take out the screw for that. Now, these tan cover plates here, I can't just lift them off because, again, like you're dealing with protrusions going around in a circle. So I can't just lift it off easily enough. So you push on the denomination, and as you push them in, you can walk it off like that. Now I can take the adjoining one off. Now we stop, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to switch it back to its original position and tighten that set screw down again. And this way, none of our other columns here are going to pop out on me accidentally while I'm working on it. And we can now actually see further inside the machine than you were previously able to do. Now it's all pretty locked up and tight here because it's currently sitting at idle. If it was all loose and sloppy, I would assume there would be problems. But now I can get my screwdriver in and I can remove the screws which hold the indicator reel on. Or try to? Okay. How am I supposed to take that screw? Oh, all right. Well, I'm not going to take the top screw off here because this release would have to be taken off. But all the other screws here, I can reach. Fairly easily. And if I can loosen that one screw just a little bit, there we go, I should be able to just swivel it back up like that. Now we have where the lock goes. Now the reason I have this pin sticking out the side here is I don't remember exactly which orientation this was supposed to go in. So the idea was that instead of driving the pin all the way back through, I did measure the length of the key with it all the way installed. Now I can verify the orientation it's supposed to be in, and then I can change it if necessary. see here. I think I have it in the right orientation. Oh, no. Let's see here. Do you go? I can't tell. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm going to take a moment here to fast forward and just kind of make a couple of adjustments off camera, and we'll be right back to put this thing in. Okay, I'm going to save you 45 minutes of me swearing like a sailor because I put the pin in backwards. And then I had to drive it out, spin it around, and then reinstall it, and then had screws fall inside of the cash register, which is a complete nightmare to get out of there because remember, everything's made out of steel. There's not really any aluminum in here. So magnetized screwdrivers or something you can use to grab it out with isn't going to help you at all in this situation. But I digress. Here we are. The lock is installed. All I have to do now is tighten the screws and we can reassemble this thing. The screws are still a little wobbly. So I'm going to put that up like that and I'm going to tighten in the lock. And hopefully we will never again have to take this blasted blankety blank lock out ever again. And now I can take our key, I can put it into the lock, I can turn it, so now I can adjust it. Oh, wait. I can put the key in there and in certain positions, I can lock it and take the key out. Finally, that is done. Now we get to reassemble the rest of this thing. So, start putting our screws back in here. Normally I don't like slotted screws and slotted screwdrivers, but everything on this thing here is machined so beautifully that everything, when it goes into a hole, it lines up perfectly, and it has just about no play on it. It has the perfect amount of play on it, actually, which makes everyone's life easier, both for assembly, disassembly, and maintenance. All right, that's in place. And now we have to put our columns back in place. I vaguely recall this was a pain in the ass to install. Nowhere near as bad as these two columns right here. This here is a mechanical nightmare. Apparently, I think you're supposed to get it into a certain state before you install it. I don't remember. All I know is it took like 2 hours to get it in there, and it was awful, and I don't want to ever do it again. So I am first going to loosen the screw. And I'm going to adjust this again so that I can now put this in. And, oh, right. So I have this little piece right here, and that has to be held back as I put it inside. I don't think these need to be held back at all. And I have a little gasket hook, so I can look underneath here. Oh, and that just popped out. That's fine. Where are you? There you are. Let's not grab the spring. Okay, and I think it's just holding on the top here because of that. And it's in. I think it's in. Okay, it's in. So it's interesting. If I push it in and I just simply pull on this one little lever under here, it resets it. But that I can see on the shaft, you can't see this at all yourself, sorry. But that I can see on the shaft, there isn't like a detent or a cam or anything that's supposed to kick this out of the way, which would allow it to reset. So there is no way mechanically on this anymore to reset it. I don't understand why it was configured like this at all. All right, anyways, we'll put in the blanks. The blanks are the same thing. It has this little spring-loaded piece at the bottom here, which actually holds part of the mechanism in here. So I'm assuming not only are these serving the purpose of blanking off and reinforcing the cover here, but it's also acting as like an indicator to the rest of the mechanical computing system in here that this column is not available and to ignore data from it. So I'll just pull that back. And spin that, and it just falls right in. Grab another one, pull it back, it just falls right in. And now I get super tight in here. Can I grab that from the underside? I think I can. And there we go. Where is it? There. Come on. Come on. Can I grab it from here? Yep, I can. And it goes in. Okay, it's in place. So I'm going to rotate this into its lock position. And I'm going to tighten down the set screw. There. And that's now all back together. So let's put our key plates back on again. I think these only go in, they only go in one direction. And again, you notice, it doesn't line up. So you push on the how did that happen? Okay, yeah. So you push on the denominations, and it just kind of fits back in. And I will grab 2 screws, and I will tighten that back in. By the way, at any time here, if you are someone who works on these mechanical cash registers still, and you're completely aggravated about how I'm doing this because I'm doing it wrong, I haven't been able to get in touch with you. Please show yourself and just tell me how to do this correctly. Because again, like I've mentioned in the previous video, there really isn't anybody else left out there. And anyone I tried to get in contact with who did know anything about these machines, they'd been doing it for so long, they just never wanted to see one of these again. So your input is absolutely appreciated on here. All right, and let's double check. Come on. I can lock it in that position now too. Groups, I can't take the key out. Resetting. There's an additional mode right here. I don't even know what that does. But yeah, and these other modes here, oh, I can actually read rows and leave them out. Cool. Put register mode. And we are ready to put this thing the rest of the way back together. So I will there. And I will tighten over there. Whew. This is some heavy stuff. I think that ibuprofen's finally kicked in too, so that's not too bad. I wonder, am I able to Sure. Let's see if we can ring in one more thing before we end off this video. And to do that, I'm going to take off the metal plate on the back of the unit, which is a couple of screws. All right, I got the machine completely back together here. Well, almost completely back together. Reinstallation of the chrome cover and doing the wiring and putting it back on top of the pedestal here is the exact same thing as the removal. But as a little bit of a treat here at the finish, what we're going to do is I've taken the back covers off both the number drums and the back of the machine. So we're going to do everything that we punched in last time, but this time it won't be ringing each time because the drawer is the one that does all the ringing. And we don't have electricity either, so I'm going to have to do this all by hand crank. So let's take our handy new key here, and I'm going to put that into an unlocked mode once I get the key in. There we go. Turn it. Now we'll regroup. And there's that ongoing count there. Let's put it back into register mode. I'll leave the key in. All right, we'll be clerk A this time. Food, 76 cents. So 76, food. There we go. And it wants to move around the table. We'll do juice, 18 cents. So 10, 8, juice. And we'll do cigarettes, $1. So $1. There we go. And we're going to do the one bottle there of champagne, I like to remind you. So $9.59. And we had a bucket of ice for that champagne, and that was 25 cents in miscellaneous. 25 miscellaneous. And we had a tax on that bottle of liquor there, which was 7%, so it's 67 cents tax, which we'll put on the draft button, 67. And like before, we'll hit the total, and nothing will happen. The total's still 0. I don't know why. And if I hit, actually, can I do that again? No, it's still 0 because I just rung in 0. So yeah, total remains 0. Our draft total button still doesn't do anything, and our shift total button has absolutely nothing in it. Well, there we go. That is the NCR Class 52 Mechanical Cash Register. We've talked about it. We even did a repair here. We put in a new key, and these keys here are not something that are easily rekeyable or easily able to get. I'm not entirely sure. The key code on this one here is actually etched on it, and it seems that ordering those keys online even are difficult to do. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. There's not a lot of these teardown videos or discussions about these older mechanical cash registers, and there's even fewer videos where they take them apart and try and work on them. I'm not going to take this one here completely apart because it's a complete nightmare to get it back together again and adjusted and all of that, and we're not going to make a 60-part video on trying to figure out how to do that without a service manual or any training. But I really hope that you enjoyed watching this. I really hope that you enjoyed what you saw. If you could, please leave a comment down below. And until next time, have a good one.